Hearing is directly related to dementia. When you can't hear, you have a problem, and it impacts on dementia. Now, here's the deal, though. You have 55 corporations, for example, in the United States of America, making over $40 billion. Don't pay a cent. Not a single little red cent. Now, I don't care. I'm a capitalist. I hope you can be a millionaire or a billionaire. Not a problem. But at least pay your fair share. Reduce, not increase inflation. Don't add a penny to the debt, as well as grow the economy. According to, I have 17 Nobel laureates in economics. A gigantic disadvantage.
Mr. President, the question was on on community colleges, which was a big campaign promise that you made. You talked about that a lot on the campaign trail.
Yeah, and I'm going to get it done. And if I don't, I'll be sleeping alone for a long time. With providing professional education beyond 12 years, we rank like, I think it's, don't hold me to the number, I think it's 16 or 17 in the world. The United States of America, for God's sake. 2 reasons. If you notice, the Republicans haven't passed a single solitary thing. 0. So ushering through their agenda right now is just stop Biden. Oh, I shouldn't make it so personal. Stop my administration. That's what the agenda is. It's much easier to stop something than to start something. Ways in which we can deal with climate. I'm going off to COP26 in Scotland, and I don't know, I guess it's 2 weeks or a week. I'm losing track of time.
I want to just bring up the current labor market shortages. Millions of jobs are unfilled. Businesses are struggling to meet demand. Is there anything you can do to either encourage people to go back to work or make jobs more attractive, that they want to go back to work?
Yeah,
is there
so
a role for the federal government?
First of all, we've created more jobs in the first 8 months of my administration than any president in American history. They're reluctant to go back to work because they're afraid of COVID, many of them. The second thing that's happened, Anderson, is that people are now using this as an opportunity to say, wait a minute, do I want to go back to that $7 an hour job? There's a circumstance that exists where people are really worried about what they're going to do. I mean, how can I say this? How many people do you know, and maybe some in this audience, who because of what you've been through, a loss of a husband, wife, brother, mother, father, son, whatever, or you've had something that's really impacted you with COVID, that you really find yourself just down? I mean, just down. And so there's a lot of people who are just down. Look, being down, having some problem in terms of needing some advice, if you have a broken spirit, it's no different than a broken arm. How often I get asked the question, what's Christmas going to be like? How about Thanksgiving? Oh, is it going to be okay? I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, will I be able to buy gifts for my kids? There's a lot of anxiety people have. What I've recently done, and people said, we doubted we could get it done, I was able to go to the private portion, with 40% of all products coming into the United States of America on the West Coast go through Los Angeles and what am I doing here?
Is it Long Beach?
Long Beach, thank you. And I know both the mayors. So I went to them and I said, what can we do? All we want to give, all he talked about, he said, Joey, all I need is just a little breathing room, a little space, a little space.
Let me ask you about that, with just in terms of inflation, because you had told us at a town hall, I think it was in July, that this was just near-term inflation. The Wall Street Journal recently talked to like 67 financial experts who said that they saw high inflation going all the way or deep into 2022. Do you think it's going to last for a while?
I don't think so. I don't think it will last, depending on what we do. If we stay exactly where we are, yes. And so there's a lot of negotiation that is, there's a lot of Middle Eastern folks want to talk to me. Mm-hmm. My guess is you'll start to see gas prices come down as we get by and going into the winter, into next year in 2022. I don't see anything that's going to happen in the meantime that's going to significantly reduce gas prices. So what will happen is you're going to see a dramatic drop in what's going to happen in terms of gas prices as we go into the next 2 or 3 years, even if we're not able to break the monopoly price, they're keeping it up because, anyway. But thank you.
Mr. President, let me ask you a follow about that. As many as 1 in 3 emergency responders in some cities like Chicago, Los Angeles, right here in Baltimore, are refusing to comply with city vaccine mandates. I'm wondering where you stand on that. Should police officers, emergency responders, be mandated to get vaccines? And if not, should they be stay at home or let go?
Yes and yes. One are those who just try to make this a political issue. Freedom. I have the freedom to kill you with my COVID. No, I mean, come on. Freedom. I turn on Fox to find out how popular I am. But
How are you doing there?
I'm doing very well. I think I'm at 3% favorable. But what are we going to do about voting rights? It's the greatest assault on voting rights in the history of the United States, for real, since the Civil War. Making sure that we have access to police records in terms of what's happening. So there's a lot I've been able to do. The debate on the filibuster. I lose at least 3 votes right now to get what I have to get done on the economic side of the equation, the foreign policy side of the equation. So what I have said, you're shaking your head no, but let me tell you something, Jack, it's the truth. Number 1. Number 2, how much more time we have?
Do you have plans to visit the southern border?
I've been there before, and I haven't, I mean, I know it well. I guess I should go down, but the whole point of it is I haven't had a whole hell of a lot of time to get down.
Let me ask you about 2 other issues in the news. In less than 2 weeks, Minneapolis voters are going to decide whether or not to replace the police department in Minneapolis with what they would call a public safety department. What do you think of that?
Well, it depends on what they mean by that. Look, I grew up in a neighborhood.
They said the public safety department would have a more comprehensive public health approach to the delivery of functions of public safety and could include licensed peace officers, police officers.
Well, could. I think you need police officers.
You've never been a fan of defunding police.
No, I haven't. I've never supported, but I have been a fan of controlling police and making sure they're held accountable.
China just tested a hypersonic missile. What will you do to keep up with them militarily, and can you vow to protect Taiwan?
Yes and yes. We are militarily, China, Russia, and the rest of the world knows we have the most powerful military in the history of the world. And so I have spoken and spent more time with Xi Jinping than any other world leader has. When he made a mistake, he acknowledges it. He said, I was wrong about
That's
it.
rare these days.
No, it's rare. It's been rare. It's rare in human nature for someone in a powerful position to say they are wrong. They are wrong. I made a mistake. That's a hard thing to do. And I've had to do it about 6 times lately. There's a woman who lived in one of those apartments in the 2nd floor that sort of had an outcropping. It's a Victorian kind of, it was a 2-story place. And but the cops made sure she had their phone number. So when the drug deal was going down, she'd pick up the phone and call and say to the police officer with a cell phone that the drug deal's going down, knowing that she would never be fingered, knowing that she would never be the one told it happened. And so crime began to drop.